Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So I'm reading today for Aries energy. Now it could be any placement as long as you normally resonate strongly with Aries. It may be your reading, it may not. We'll see what comes through. If it doesn't resonate at all, maybe check out a different reading or just leave it. I am predicting for May though. So this is Aries energy for May. So it may not make sense now, but if you come back to it, you may find that it does actually resonate. I've done this with my own readings where I've thought this isn't my reading, and I've come back to it and I've been like, oh my god, it's spot on for this specific day. So just bear that in mind. And yeah, let's get going. Let's see what May has for you, Aries. I've just realized I've not got all my cards out, so I'm gonna have to pause in a second and get those out. Intuitive messages then. So I got a card from my own deck. The underline is the owl, which definitely seems to be, and I can see Jupiter there as well. So the owl and Jupiter is very much like Hierophant energy. It is talking about knowledge, kind of knowledge of the father, knowledge of ancestors, knowledge of tradition, you know, your culture, what has been handed down to you. So accessing some kind of knowledge that is to do with lineage, history, this kind of thing. Perhaps you are studying history. You could be studying something like laws as well, you know, like laws of the land, something like that coming through. But your card that's coming through here is Uranus. So it's talking about imaginary sort of the imagined narrative rather than a factual narrative. So you could be diving into a narrative that is perhaps based on opinion rather than fact, or there could be some illusion around some kind of ancestral narrative. You could be finding out, for example, in May that something that you've believed in as fact for a very long time has actually come into question. Perhaps more evidence comes up to dispute something that you took as absolute fact. And you could be kind of questioning your own belief systems perhaps a little bit, or even reinforcing them. But there could be some kind of rose tinted glasses in May around kind of these kind of things, so watch out for that. As I was channeling your energy, I started to feel pressure on my right eye. So I don't know if somebody has something going on with that eye. Maybe you've just got something, a bit of grit in your eye, something like that. But that could be a signifier for somebody. It just felt like pressure over my right eye. So maybe somebody's had a bit of a bump and they've got a cold compress on, something like that. I am getting stuff through about oh, my tummy's rumbling. Sorry about that, guys. Always happens in readings. I don't know what that is. I get physical symptoms. The power. So myself and my eldest, who's in the room with me, because it's teachers are striking again. So again, education theme coming back up there. We've been watching The Power, which is a TV show that has been created from a novel, and it's quite interesting. It discusses a lot of different what's fascinating is it's not kind of feminist in a way that is one-sided towards women. It actually takes a lot of discussions that are in popular culture today and puts them into different scenarios. So I can't really explain that too far without actually going into specific examples and spoilers. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff where they'll take a narrative and they'll flip it, and they'll flip the gender roles around and kind of see, you know, it's a kind of experimentation of where the morals lie. It's like, well, the morals lie this way, but what if we flip it around and reverse it? Where are the morals there? So it's an interesting examination or re-examination, which again could come into your messages. But again, perhaps you are studying history, perhaps you're looking into your own ancestral past or something like that. You could be you could have always had an accepted narrative, and now you're re-examining the narrative through the different perspectives of different people. So again, I'm a kind of history student. I studied humanities with classics and literature, specifically Shakespearean time. And there was a lot of history involved because you have to know the context of what you're reading. So a long time ago, there was the accepted narrative of like, oh, well, if Suetonius said this about Caesar, then it must be fact because he was a historian. But what people are doing now is re-examining evidence and saying, well, why did this person have this, putting the evidence in context. So who was the person doing the writing, who was the historian, who were they writing under, what regime was in power when they were writing, and all these kind of things. But not only that, we are very aware now that a lot of the historical evidence that we have was written by powerful men. You don't really hear the voices of poor men, slaves. You don't hear the voices of women very often. You do get some examples, but on the whole, the bulk of history was written by men. And obviously, this gives us a blinkered view, a one-sided narrative. So what people are doing now is re-examining, as though they are in the shoes of different people, which is very good. It gives a more rounded approach to history. So that could be something that's coming up for you in May, that idea. There could be something going on for you either personally or, again, looking at perhaps the collective traditions, community traditions, things like this. You did have Three of Cups fall out at one point, which can talk about, the people around you, your friends, your family, your community, these kind of things. But you have this feeling of somebody. Now, it could be an aspect of Aries energy, but I don't want to kind of be like, you're doing this, you're doing that. So do flip it and reverse it. It could be something that is challenging you at this time. It could be coming through as a certain person who's provoking certain feelings or responses to come up within you. But I'm getting something where it's like somebody's been almost raised to believe that they can do whatever they want as long as they say sorry, as long as they beg forgiveness after. So it does hearken to kind of Catholic sort of traditions where, is not exactly, they don't say you can do whatever you want as long as you come to confession, but it's kind of like the knock-on effect of how people start to act. It's like, oh, I can do what I want as long as I go to confession and, confess my sins and rid myself of that. So it's kind of like a get out of jail free card. So again, I'm not criticizing a specific religion. It's just a theme that's come up in the reading that you can play around with yourself, your ideas around that. But there definitely seems to be a person who, maybe they have a habit of just doing what they want, and not really thinking about how that affects other people. And then kind of when they get in trouble, they're kind of like, sorry, I'll never do it again. That kind of thing, begging forgiveness, please forgive me, it'll never happen again. And then it happens again. You could be dealing with somebody like that, because you've got the songs Tradition by Halsey and Bad Blood by Taylor Swift. By me. Yeah, which worked last time for Virgo. So there's the lines, you'll say sorry just for show, right? You say sorry because it's what people expect of you, right? You say sorry because it makes you look good to say sorry. I'm not saying you specifically, Aries, but I'm saying Aries energy. Again, it could be somebody that you're dealing with. And band-aids don't fix bullet holes. Now, this is something that I said to my son the other day because he'd acted quite badly and he was trying to hug me. And I was saying, but that it's like a plaster on a bad wound kind of thing. I was like, it doesn't solve the problem. What solves the problem is learning and not acting like that again. So it could be that you have to have this discussion with somebody. Maybe it's your own children, particularly like teenage boy energy. It's kind of like you can't just do what you want. You have to you can't just do what you want and expect people to forgive you once you give them puppy eyes and a hug. You've got to, if you love people, you treat them better than that. It could be a discussion that you're having. My son's lovely, but teenage boys, they have the moments, right? So what else do you have? I'm getting more for you. It could be a relationship, somebody that you're in a relationship with, or somebody who you've been in a relationship with in the past, specifically if they've crossed a line with you. But I am getting something, especially going back to collective energy. You've got something about being stuck in an old narrative and being unable to forgive something that happened in the historical past, and kind of the damage that this can do when we hold on to old grudges. Because I'm getting the kind of quotes of like, if the left eye offends, pluck it out. Eye for an eye energy. If an eye for an eye and the whole world goes blind, that kind of thing. And then kind of later passages in the Bible that said, he without sin cast the first stone, and that kind of thing. So I think what I'm getting from this is, because one of your songs was Zombie by Cranberries, and Zombie by Cranberries is talking to people who are obviously the issues that went on between Ireland and England. And they're sort of saying it's in your head, you're a zombie, because it's like they're holding on to this past trauma, they're holding on to this past narrative that perhaps doesn't necessarily apply in the time that it's written. I think, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I can say further on that. I want to kind of oversimplify too much, but it's kind of like let bygones be bygones kind of thing, you know. If you're looking for vengeance over something that's kind of in the past, then it just perpetuates the violence, and that can be really negative. Obviously, she talks about the mother wailing when the two boys were hurt. So yeah, I think there's a real strong message coming through already about somebody who's got some illusions or disillusions, or they've spun themselves a narrative in their own head with Uranus energy, because this is a kind of it carries make believe and imagination energy. So it's like somebody's got their own narrative of the past that they're clinging to, and they're holding on to a grudge, which is kind of perpetuating toxicity in the current situation. So if that's you, to kind of really self-analyze that, and if it's, you know, it's better to let sleeping dogs lie, let bygones be bygones. You're getting a lot of euphemisms, you know, a lot of, is it euphemisms, not euphemisms, a lot of sayings, kind of like catchphrases. So again, this could be something that's coming up for you. Maybe you or somebody that you're dealing with uses a lot of kind of catchphrase, kind of a slogan, motto terminology, an eye for an eye, that kind of things. Idioms, thank you. Benefit of having a kid currently learning English. I've forgotten everything I ever learned. Top set as well. So there you go, idioms. So it could be somebody who uses a lot of idioms, and maybe gets stuck in that. Again, I'm thinking of like older people, you know, when older people you know, you're trying to have a logical argument sometimes with somebody who's a little bit older, a little bit set in their old ways, you know, they don't really want to change, and you're trying to have a logical discussion, you're trying to give them new evidence from kind of newer discussions that kind of younger generations are having, and they're having none of it, and they just go, well, an eye for an eye, and you're like, well, can we break that down, can we discuss that further? But it's like they've got this almost programmed narrative, this programmed it's like, well, what does that mean? What does that idiom mean? You can't just use an idiom and expect that to be the end of an argument. You have to kind of analyze what is actually being said there and the impact of it. So yeah, it's somebody who falls back on kind of old idioms, old ways of being, old mindsets. They're not really willing to kind of let go of old grudges, that kind of thing. So Aries energy for May then. What do we have, please? What is Aries dealing with? Poised, by the book, exactly a leg up. So I would say poised by the book and a leg up. So it feels like you're about to take a bit of a leap here. It feels like you're ready to it has the feeling of kind of somebody who's joining Hierophant energy. So, you know, somebody who's being trained by their elders in some sort of way, because you've got a leg up here as well. So it's like maybe some kind of ancestor coming in for you, somebody, maybe somebody like a teacher, somebody who carries that Hierophant energy, a priest. It's kind of like, we're going to do this the right way. We're going to do this the traditional way. I'm going to give you a leg up here. I'm going to support you. This is the path. This is the path to success. But actually, these elephants are traveling backwards. So just be wary of that. Elephants give me Scorpio energy. It's kind of like a never forget energy. Polar bears give me Pisces energy, kind of a resilience, kind of fit for purpose kind of energy. So that's just my own language that I have with my guides, not necessarily what you might find kind of in the book, right, with Pisces energy, which I think is giving me something for you, Aries, about first-hand experience. So it's like you can read about something in a book, and people can tell you what something's like from their experience, but until you experience it yourself, you know, until you step in those shoes, you don't really know what it feels like to be in that situation. So it could be something about understanding someone else's side of a situation, understanding why someone did what they did in a certain situation because you're seeing it through their eyes, right? You're stepping into their shoes. Or it could be that there's a situation that you read about on paper and you thought would be a certain way, and when you actually experience it firsthand, you know, you're finding a very different situation. You know, it's like when you speak to people, perhaps it's that kind of energy of like, you know, somebody could tell you about like a group of people. It's like, this group of people are like this, they're really evil, they're really bad, and then you go and you hang out with a group of people who are like that, and you're like, actually these people are really cool, we have a lot of shared values. So I feel like you've got this kind of push and pull in two directions. The polar bears are going in this direction, the elephants kind of in this never forget energy, stuck in tradition, going back to the past, which could be talking about culture and society. You know, you can definitely see this happening in society. We're missing 2. I'm noticing you've got 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 1 is giving me like 2 steps back. Maybe you feel like society's going backwards. I definitely would understand someone feeling like that. We're missing 2. And then you go into progress 3 and 4. So there could be some significance to that might come back up. But yeah, you're ready to do something. I think like you could have some sort of choice about, do you do something the traditional way, or perhaps somebody's coming in saying, look, I'll give you a helping hand here. Maybe it's something where, excuse me a second. Okay, so there's going to be some movement in the background. Yeah, I feel like somebody's almost saying, this is the way. Maybe it's you've been watching Mandalorian or something, Star Wars. This is the way. This is the way it was done before. This is the way your father did it before you. Their father did it before them. It doesn't have to be father, right? Parents, people in the workplace before you. This is the path. This is the ladder. This is the way. And a leg up almost feels like jumping a rung, like going up a step. Somebody, perhaps you know somebody who's a little bit higher up who can get you promoted, something like that. So you do feel poised to maybe change direction, maybe do it in a different way than the way it was done before. Never ending story. Yeah, again, this kind of zombie energy of like being stuck in the past, repeating something and being stuck in a cycle. Okay, so tell me more about, actually I want to ask these cards first. Tell me Aries' energy, please. You are a Knight of Cups, so yeah, I feel like you are doing it a different way. You could have Pisces in your chart. I would say you could be dealing with the Pisces, but I asked specifically about your energy, so this deck is representing you now. This is the Light Seers Tarot. If you're interested, I'm also using the Wisdom of the Oracle Tarot here. So this is a very heart open, taking action from the heart, taking action from a positive emotional place. If it was in the reverse, it'd be somebody who's kind of ruled by the emotions, maybe a bit tempestuous, but it's not. This is somebody who's kind of like, they are moving. Knights are always moving. They're always either delivering messages or taking action. So you're doing something here. There's movement here in May, and it's absolutely coming from the heart. It's an emotional place. Let's get another card for you, Aries. Well, that is too many. I'm seeing gazelle and spider. Spiders are about connection, community, sensitivity as well. And I think, was it the gazelle or the antelope? This is about fast movement forward. Who is Aries, please? Can I get a card for Aries for May? The elk energy. That's interesting. You've gone from like antelope to elk. So Emperor energy. You are the Emperor in the tarot. So definitely your energy. You're taking the lead in something. You're making a decision. You're not, again, you could be getting promoted. You could be getting promoted to some kind of leadership position. It could be that you're just stepping up and taking the lead in your own life. It's like the awareness, I think, that people sometimes need leadership. Sometimes people need direction. They need the person who's the decision maker, the person who's pointing out the direction on the compass. I'm getting kind of army. I don't know if somebody's been in the army, or maybe like scouts or something like that. It's kind of this again, like putting on someone else's boots energy. It's kind of this maybe yeah, your father, your older brothers, something like this, siblings were in the army, and it's like, well, you need to join the family business, something like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, you seem to be, it's almost like with the leg up, it's almost like, I feel like you're breaking tradition because you disagree with it, right? There's something emotionally that's not resonating for you here. There's something that I feel like you have that awareness that by following this tradition, it's perpetuating a stale cycle. It's like an old stale cycle that's no longer resonant with the current generation, I want to say. So the leg up energy feels like, I am curious to know if you've got Piscean placements, because again, it's coming through as your energy, kind of. It's like I want to say you could be this person who's giving somebody else a leg up. You could be somebody who's helping another person to break out of some kind of cycle or tradition. And this can be even kind of like inherited behaviors. I grew up in England. in the north of England, it's a drinking culture. And you know, my grandparents smoke and drank. My dad gave up smoking, but he drank. My mum smoked and drank. And I don't smoke, and I'm trying to break the bad habits of drinking. Yeah, and hopefully my kids are gonna take that health advice on board and be better than me. So again, something like that is kind of you're getting this thing again about like someone being set in their old ways, right? My mum just couldn't give up smoking. She couldn't break that cycle. But my dad did, and I had a huge amount of respect for him. So again, anything that comes through personally could be significant in some sort of way as a metaphor for something going on for you. So yeah, elk energy, that's really good though. You're coming through really strong and from the heart, which is the best place to lead from, right? What else do I want? Tea leaf cards, that's what I forgot to get out for you. Okay, so tea leaf, this was the animal oracle, animal archetypes deck, was it? No, this one. This was this one, Animal Spirit by Kim Krans. And then tea leaf, just so you know which deck I'm using. So let's get a little bit more of a peek through the window. That's been coming up a lot as well, this idea of peeking through a window, like peeking into someone else's life, whether psychically or, you know, even like you could read a book by somebody and you're technically kind of like peeking into their experiences. So yeah, just watch out for that. I'm just trying not to get any cards when I have a bit of a shuffle. Okay, it's kind of like a really big deck, so... And with them being round, they're very, very slippery. My cards were really naughty as I was kind of like getting ready to do like a test reading. My cards were being really, really naughty, and Mercury came out, and it was this energy of kind of like mischief in the air, mischief makers, kind of people kind of causing a little bit of trouble to just to have a bit of fun with somebody. So you could be experiencing this as well. Like the advice was to be really patient if you're experiencing this, and it can come through. Mercury's in retrograde, so this can cause a lot of problems. My plumbing went last night. I had a leak, it was pouring through my lounge ceiling, so we had to get an emergency plumber out this morning, and my plans for the day kind of went out the window. So again, window energy, there's this window energy coming through a lot. Okay, you may hear my son's shouting downstairs. He's playing some kind of computer game with his friends. Again, thanks teachers for the strike. All the best laid plans of mice and men, right, amount to nothing, or come to dust. I can't remember that line properly. Again, you could be dealing with somebody who quotes a lot, right? It's like they use quotes to make them sound more learned. They use quotes to back up their opinions, but you know, you've got to say, well, where did that quote come from? What's the context of the quote? You know, what's the wider context? I've seen it with politicians. I think sometimes script writers have fun with politicians, especially if they don't necessarily agree with the policies. And sometimes they'll throw in a quote. You find this I studied classics, so I was on classics Twitter a lot, and you'd find all the classicists kind of like making fun of the politicians and putting the quotes into context, because, you know, they could do a quote that sounds, you know, an idiom from some kind of famous speech by Cicero or something, and it sounds really good, but when you actually put it in context, it's really, really kind of like, wow, my tummy, I'm sorry guys, that was loud. Yeah, it can be like something like really, you know, it could be like a terrible politician. You know, I think a lot of people, who did Boris Johnson like? Boris Johnson liked, it was a guy beginning with P. Is it Pericles? I want to say Pericles. And he's the leader of Athens, and he made some really bad decisions, and it basically ruined Athens. And I'm like, do you want that for your leader? Like, the guy that he thinks is great is the guy who kind of like absolutely ruined Athens. I don't know. It's like when you put things into context and dive a little bit deeper and don't take a quote as face value, because it's almost like an intimidation. It's like, oh, I know this quote to back up what I'm saying, but you know, when you actually question it further, you know, that person's whole argument can fall down. Right. What do we have for Pisces? That's interesting. Maybe you're Pisces Aries cusp. That could be what's happening here. I'm really sorry about my tummy rumbling there again. There's nothing I can do about it. I've got a human body, guys. It's going to make weird noises from time to time. Aries, please. Can we get a little bit more of the situation in May for Aries? So you've got broom, new home, new attitude, and pay attention to your finances. So maybe you're moving home, maybe somebody around you is moving home, maybe you're just cleaning up, right? So it's kind of like you've got a new attitude about life. You are feeling like you're in a really strong position with that elk energy, that kind of emperor energy. So it could be that you're cleaning up your home, maybe you're decorating. So even if you're not moving home, it could be that you're just kind of like giving your space a new lease of life to represent that new energy. I definitely find this myself, like, people talk about spring cleaning. In winter, all I want to do is get under a duvet, and things kind of settle in the home, and you kind of do a little bit less housework. But when it warms up and when it brightens up and the sun's coming through the window, it's like you want to get fresh flowers in. You want to kind of like dust away the cobwebs, air out some of that heavy duvets. You want to kind of give everything a bit of breath of fresh air. So it could be something like that. But again, you could be moving home, in which case purse makes a lot of sense. Pay attention to your finances. If you're moving home, this can be really expensive. So definitely a good advice. But it could also be something about if you are redecorating, just be careful about how much you're spending on that. Maybe the cost of the paints kind of keeps topping up, So just don't get carried away, I think. And horse, short journey there as well. Okay, what else please for Aries for May? What else please for Aries? I'm hearing keep your house in order again with the idioms. It could be talking about your finances, like your house is your finances, right? Your financial situation. It could be talking about your kind of 10 of Pentacles energy. So this can be like making sure work is working for you and you're not just working for work, and that kind of thing. It's got this kind of check all the systems, check. You're like a kind of life overhaul energy or a life review energy. I think it's tax season, right? In just everywhere, but particularly I think in the US, everybody has to kind of do their own taxes. We don't really necessarily have to do that in the UK. Kind of the HMRC does it for us mostly, unless you're kind of self-employed, in which case you do need to do your taxes. But yeah, I think if it's like tax season, it definitely makes sense that people are like reviewing their the whole system, right? It's like, how much are you earning? What are you doing for work? Could you be doing something in a more effective way? What are your outgoings? What are you spending? What are you spending on food? Is there a more effective way of kind of like managing your money? Could be that sort of thing. And the sun, happiness and well-being. So whatever's happening, it ends in the sun. And again, you've got some really strong cards, especially with the elk. Again, I think you're doing this kind of review of, by the book could be even patterns of behavior, right? Reviewing patterns of behavior in your life, reviewing the way you've been doing things. Is there a way that we can kind of give ourselves a leg up here, you and your family, you and your friends, whatever it is there a way we can help each other out? Is there a way that we can stop doing things just because it's the way it's been done before and kind of take a shortcut? I'm thinking of things like cooking. Sometimes people wash chicken, and I don't think you necessarily have to, and I think it can spread salmonella. So it's almost like, why do you do that? Because my grandma did it. Well, there's no actual reason to do it, so that sort of thing. Again, people believe different things, so whatever. Wash your chicken if you want to wash your chicken. But yeah, the sun, happiness and well-being. So again, it feels like lifestyle review, looking at what makes you happy, looking at what drains your energy, and yeah, that kind of good stuff. So emotionally for Aries in May, please. Emotions for Aries in May. Oh, you're doing some healing, making some decisions. This isn't you. There's somebody around you. It could be you, but somebody's making you feel like you need to do this. Just because I asked which deck you are, and you came out as Light Seers, and these are from the Muse Tarot, so this is telling me this is another person's energy in your energy. And there's that sun again. Ace of Pentacles, there could be a new start, a new beginning, a new job offer, promotion, something like that coming in for you. Or you just feel like you need it because it came out in your emotion space. So you're ready for a new challenge. You're ready to expand your horizons. Kind of this I feel is going to be like later May, because we're kind of like beginning to end. So yeah, you go through a period of kind of like, let's get all your cards out. Let's see what you get. So your thoughts in May. Your thoughts in May. You feel very trapped at the beginning of the month, but that's okay, because you seem to be in a this review phase. So it's almost like when you are forced to slow down, when you're forced to take a break, when you're forced to be bored almost, you know, you start to self-analyze. If you're always busy, if you're always moving, if you're always kind of like doing something, you don't get time to stop and think. So this feels like a stop and think energy at the beginning of the month. Gathering some information, and then looking at kind of a situation where things can be shared more equally. None of this is your energy. This is all situational. What's action space for Aries? I'm going to go that way because, yeah, you've hit some kind of roadblock at the start of the month. None of this is your energy. That's really curious. So there's a lot of stuff going on that's situational for you in May. That's too many. Can't take that many. But let's have a quick look at them because they're all, this is your energy, these are your cards. So Moon, some kind of confusion, which you can see here. Somebody's confusing you, I think. You're confused about your options. There's an energy here of like wishes fulfilled, wishes coming true, wanting to make yourself happy, wanting to choose the things that speak to your heart, which is good, right? So a modicum of success as well. My tummy's about to rumble again if you hear it. Knight of Wands, doing something with a lot of passion and enthusiasm. Again, you've got choosing from the heart here. So this is really choosing what speaks to you on an energetic level, right? Not necessarily what makes logical sense or practical sense, but doing it because it feels right. And working really hard on this. Working really hard on... Okay, so this seems to say Aries is confused. Aries has been quite confused about what makes them happy, about what motivates them, what inspires them. And they need to stop overthinking, perhaps. They need to stop letting their fears get in the way of doing what they want to do more of, and then doing more of what makes you happy, doing more of what makes you enthusiastic is something that you're working on. And again, sometimes this can be Aries does this in a way that's damaging to other people, and they need to work on that. You know, they need to work on being able to do what they want to do in a way that isn't destructive, but mostly I'm feeling you need to work on... Because again, none of this is your energy. This is all from a different deck than your energy. So this is telling me there's a lot of stuff going on that's situational here. So that you could have a lot of people in your life, especially like family, telling you what to do, telling you what to think, telling you what to feel. You could have friends who all have their opinion about what you should or shouldn't be doing or feeling. And this is more about getting in touch with your own feelings, and working on your ability to do that, working on your ability to self-isolate from the opinions and the business of others, and to just say, what does Aries want? What makes Aries feel good? What inspires Aries? What should Aries do more of because it feels good, right? And yeah, again, working on that. So really interesting there. But what do we have here? So in this space here for Aries is action space. I love that this leap of faith energy, that is your energy finally showing up in your own reading. Yeah, you've got something going on here. You've got this rule maker energy. Look at this, the Hierophant, and it's external. It's not your Hierophant energy, it's external Hierophant energy. It's the same energy as by the book. It's the same energy as Owl and Jupiter. You've got this... It's like the laws, the rules, the establishment, the... I'm hearing prison, which is interesting because you've got 8 of Voices. So some of you could be dealing with some kind of prison system, or you know, maybe you've got an ASBO, right? You've got I'm laughing, I don't know why I'm laughing at it. I think because people make fun of ASBOs a lot, kind of when they were announced by like David Cameron, and you know, it became like a funny thing, you know. It was let me explain what I'm trying to say, because I don't want anyone to take offense. It wasn't people laughing at people with ASBOs. I think there was a little bit of that. It was more of a very British humour around authoritarian rule. So people get ASBOs and they get tags on the legs, you know, and it's like they weren't in prison, but they had to be in the house at a certain time. It's like having a timeout kind of thing, kind of like nanny state, kind of authoritative government. So obviously the response from the British public is to make fun of it, right, and to make jokes about it and laugh at it. And it became a bit of a badge of honour, I think, you know, with some people. They were like, hey, check out my tag. I've got an ASBO. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that's coming through like that. It could just be for one of you, but if it makes sense, it makes sense. My tummy's rumbling again. It could just be, yeah, I'm going to blame Aries energy. It's probably because I need to eat more, but I'm going to blame Aries energy because Aries energy is kind of like from the gut, right? It's like that leap of faith. doing this because my instincts, my gut tells me to. So yeah, you've got, like I say, Hierophant energy. So again, this can be like a priest, you know, it can be a religious figure, somebody who's older and wiser. You 100% definitely dealing with somebody who's older and wiser. But what I want to say is happening here, Aries, if this person has always made you feel inferior, like you don't know as much, King of Swords there as well. This showed up in your pre-shuffle. Yeah, this, you feel like you're dealing with somebody who has a lot of knowledge, and I feel like they use that knowledge and expertise to kind of make other people feel small, right? To dwarf the other people. It's like, well, I have access to the information. I have access to the owl energy. Jupiter showing again. I'm actually picking up 2 cards, and it's showing me Jupiter. So signal, yeah, like signal signal, what is it, virtue signaling, that's what's trying to come through there with that. So yeah, it's like this person's yeah, they feel authoritarian, like kind of almost like bully, or I'm very learned, I have all this information, you know, maybe somebody who went to university, right? They had access to kind of higher knowledge, higher learning, and they use that to kind of belittle or make other people feel inferior. I was having a discussion actually with somebody in work about our degrees, and how the more people lean into education, the more kind of isolated they can become, because they get such a kind of narrow blinkered focus of their specific subject that sometimes it can almost remove them from being able to have a general conversation with kind of not, I don't want to say normal people, but you know what I mean, like people who have a populist view, and it absolutely does. Like I know from like when I was, so it's something to be self-aware of. If you are perhaps lucky enough to be able to access some kind of information, just be careful that you don't use that to make other people feel stupid, right? I don't know. Yeah, but you're walking away from something. I feel like this is external to you, Aries, honestly. I feel like this is something that you've been dealing with. And what I want to say is if this person makes you feel very small, um, you're not at all, because you're showing as Emperor energy. The Emperor and the Hierophant are equivalent energy. I'd say the Hierophant may be slightly high, because the Hierophant typically is like God's representative, right? But the Elk is Emperor energy, and the Emperor is Earth's representative. So you are representative of the people, you are representative of the collective, you are representative of your family, your friends. You know, and you're doing it in a position of authority. So this is almost like church and state, Aries and Taurus kind of coming head to head. So there is opportunity here sometimes to align and to find some kind of middle ground or cooperation that works for both parties. But this feels more like you are leaving something, because you end with this leap of faith, which is your energy. Finally, at the end of all this, it's like you realize, you remember who you are, or you realize your strength, or you realize that you do have authority, your needs are important, your feelings are important. You know, you're not a robot that's coded by society. You are an individual, thoughts and feelings and motivations. So yeah, absolutely back into your own energy, the full energy, taking a leap of faith, really going for something, because I want to say it feels right, it speaks to your heart. And then yeah, you're definitely walking away from something, you're leaving something behind, there's something missing emotionally for you, you know this. And again, I think it's something to do with being caught in this perpetual cycle, you know, following in somebody else's footsteps over and over and over again, and feeling like you're not getting anywhere. I think finally you have an opportunity to choose a different path, to make a different choice for yourself. And I want to say for others as well, I want to say there's some kind of like pioneer or leader energy here with the Elk. So yeah, that looks really, really good. But yeah, I think you've perhaps been putting somebody else's happiness or freedom above your own, because the Sun is about freedom. The Eight of Voices is about feeling imprisoned or trapped, often entrapped in your own head. There's all this thing about like, maybe you are receiving kind of, again, the Elk with this talks about crown chakra to me. So when I do energy work, I run energy up and down my spine through my different chakras, and eventually kind of imagine it going out of my head and kind of up like an aerial or branches of a tree, connecting to the stars. And this kind of is where I start to get the visions and the intuitive messages from. So maybe this is your crown chakra opening up, you realizing that perhaps you have a direct line to God. And so make me think of direct line car insurance. Maybe there's something about car insurance. Yeah, you kind of like got a direct line. It's like that voice within, right? Christina Aguilera song coming through. You know, your instinct, your intuition, the inner voice. You know, if God's omnipresent, he's everywhere, which includes in you, right, in your own mind. So yeah, you've got your own. It could, even if you're not religious, this is like you have your own thoughts, you have your own opinions, you have your own way of thinking about things, and that's okay. You're not meant to be programmed by. They show me, you know, Batman, the one with Jim Carrey, where he has that thing that he sticks on somebody's head, and it's like they're watching television and he puts it on the head, and it's like he can mind read them and read the thoughts. Or like in Bad Guys, if you've seen the movie Bad Guys, where they control all the guinea pigs with the meteorite. So yeah, it's like mind control, brain control, breaking free from that and having your own thoughts. But then you're doing it where, again, because you've got some confusion here, somebody, it's external, something external from you is confusing you, and making you fall into this very analytical energy. It's like something around you, some situation, somebody is getting you in your own head. But when they get you in your own head, and I want to say they trigger your fears, it's almost to keep you in your place. It's to keep you small and still, right? It's like if you're worrying about this, you're not taking action, and they don't want you to take action, I want to say, because this is how it ends, right? It ends with you taking action and breaking out of that headspace. You've got all this voices energy, so voices, which is all about mental energy, and then the 7 of emotions is kind of like emotional confusion, too many choices, too many options. So you're doing your research, I want to say, with Page of Voices. This is a student energy. This is somebody looking to get some more information. It could also be somebody looking to you for information. Again, maybe you're the middleman, right? You learned from the person before you, but you now have your own person who's coming to you for advice, for leadership, for guidance. And maybe you're saying, think for yourself. Think, you know, what do you think about this? Don't come to me asking for answers. You know, search, what is that inner voice telling you? What do you think the answer is? And then neither kind of condemning them or reinforcing what they think, but saying it's okay for you to think and feel whatever you want to think and feel. You know, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. It kind of makes me think of Socrates' statues again. I think it's Socrates. This idea of like it's Daedalus' statues technically, but it's something that Socrates said, I think. So he says knowledge is like Daedalus' statues, because Daedalus' statues would get up and move around and walk around if they weren't kind of nailed down to a plinth. So he was saying it's actually walking that mile in your own shoes. It's like, I think he said something like, if you were going from route A, from where you live, and you want to go to a different town, you wouldn't really know how to get there unless you went yourself. You could read a map, you could read books of someone else's experiences, you could talk to people, they could point out the direction. You know, you could imagine with that, I think this is why Uranus is here as well, you could imagine what that would be like to do that. But until you actually physically do it yourself and have that first-hand experience, it doesn't become fixed knowledge, right? There's a difference between opinion that's formed through the learning from others and the fixed knowledge that comes from personal experience. So that seems to be something that's happening there, and you seem to be encouraging someone else to have that personal experience. You do seem to be, there is some kind of blockage here at the beginning of the month, physically in your action space. So I want to say that you could be blocking someone. You know, you could be saying, I don't want to follow that person on social media anymore. I recognize now that they're giving bad advice. Perhaps if you've been following someone who kind of is you know, some kind of preacher, some kind of life coach, something like that, you're saying, do you know what, that's not in alignment with me anymore. I can actually see that that's getting me stuck in my own head and stopping me moving. So I'm going to block them and I'm going to get on with my own life. It's kind of how that feels. It's definitely, whatever this blockage is, it's making you feel trapped. So again, you feel like could be coming into conflict with somebody, conflict of opinion as well. 4 of Pentacles, saving up. I feel like definitely if you if you're planning, if this is something that's planned for you, this leap of faith, this walking away, you may recognize that you need to gather some resources before you do it. So again, information gathering, gathering of resources. So mentally, which is in the perfect position because this is your mental space, mentally finding out information, and then physically gathering something physical. So that could be money, getting your possessions together, something like that. You'll later May, so where this is leading for you, you have this what feels like a revelation with the sun coming in. I want to say it's someone or something that makes you feel free, because it's not your energy, but it's making you feel this. So it's like something that's making you feel like you have a lot of personal freedom after feeling quite confused by all your options. You feel like you are very, very happy, you're very uplifted, you're very energized. So that is really, really positive. Again, with this kind of stuff going on in the brain, you've got and the stomach as well. It's like there's something where it's like something perhaps has been speaking to you intellectually, but it's not been connecting with you emotionally, or it's not been connecting to your drive. So when you find this kind of like spark within, when it lights you up inside, is kind of gonna connect with all your chakras. Do you know, I think that's probably why my stomach's been rumbling. I know it comes often as an excuse, but it's a genuine thing that happens in readings. I get physical symptoms. So your stomach is talking about like your solar plexus chakra or your sacral chakra, which is kind of like where a lot of your confidence and your motivation and your creativity and things like this come from. So I want to say that there's been a blockage in these kind of chakras for you. You could have been having kind of like tummy trouble or indigestion trouble if this is resonating with you, because obviously get that checked out by a doctor if it's an ongoing problem, or it's causing you concern. But you could have something where it's like because you've been made to feel inferior, your confidence has been knocked, right? You've been made to feel like you're not good enough by some kind of institution. When you find that light inside you again, when you get that motivation again, when you start moving, it's going to feel like I don't know, it just makes me think of like, kind of Shakespeare and Tudor times, they talk about the stomach and the gall kind of thing. It's like you're going to feel like you've got your confidence, your bravery, your drive back, right? Something like getting fired up inside in a really positive way, because it's making you move, right? It's making you move from a situation that's made you feel very, very stuck. Six of Pentacles. So again, this is situational. So you could be receiving some kind of compensation, or you could be thinking that you are entitled to some kind of compensation here. Six of Materials is about making something right, on a physical level. So again, it's like everybody should get paid the same amount for the work that they do, that kind of idea. But yeah, it's making something balanced and fair in a very physical way, but it's in your thoughts. So it's not something that's showing up, it's something that you're thinking about, and again, it probably coming in your direction because it's showing up as not your card. But yeah, I really love that you end with the Fool, this leap of faith, this it's like I just feel like you get this sudden burst of energy and inspiration, and it's very inspiring to you. It's like you know what to do, you know where to move. So it's almost like you're feeling like spring loaded. They show me the clown, the Jack in the Box. It's almost like you've been spring loaded to have this sudden burst of energy. It's funny, I've been talking about personally, I got a message about time concertinaing, and I absolutely felt it. It was the strangest experience. So it's the idea of like, you normally have a certain amount of time to do things, but all of a sudden it's like everything gets compressed into like 1 week, and it's like your schedule's suddenly full, right? So I've had this experience myself. It's almost like, but it came with almost like divine timing of everything falling into place, or like Tetris, like everything just kind of slotted into place perfectly, even though there was a lot going on, a lot of unexpected things happening, a lot of time commitments, and just everything kind of like squashed into a really 1 week basically, but fit perfectly. So I almost feel like it's a similar thing. It's like if you feel like you've been grinding your gears, right, you've not been getting anywhere, it's like you've got this buildup of kinetic energy that's going to I'm looking physically at a spring right now as well. It's going to like it's almost like the starter blocks right under your feet. It's like almost getting like a launch. Maybe it's some kind of like again, it's like an opportunity. It's going to like launch you Yeah, cool. Really cool. Okay. Who is around you at this time? So this could be talking about a spirit guide for you, perhaps an ancestor that's passed over who's watching out for you. It could be somebody showing up in the physical, who's representing this kind of energy here on earth. And it could also be an energy that you could step into. So take it as it resonates. This is Angels Among Us and Goddesses Among Us by, I can show you, Victoria Maxwell and Ali Grant. It's two packs mixed together. So the advice, the help, the guidance for Aries, please. Help, guidance, advice for Aries. I'm being reminded to say, because I don't think I've said yet, I did this reading for myself as a test reading, and oh my goodness, it was very spot on and very emotional, and I cried. I was like, I didn't predict forward for May. I was just like, because I wanted to know if the reading worked or not. So I was like, tell me about my own situation right now. And I was like, oh, oh, thank you. That's actually correct. So hopefully this is resonating for you. If not now, it'll make more sense kind of in late May when you look back on it. But the guidance for you, oh, cute. So maybe there is a grandmother that's in spirit, kind of like who's got your back. Anna, grandmother of Jesus. The name Anna could mean something to you specifically. It's funny, I was talking about kind of, because there's a lot of different faiths represented in this deck from around the world, these two decks. And you've got this one that's that is kind of representing Judaism and Catholicism or Christianity, kind of Old and New Testament, which kind of came up when I was talking about, you know, some of the old passages and idioms from the Bible. Nurture, ancestral healing and wisdom. Ancestral healing. You can't make this up, guys. What did I tell you? Okay, lovely. Right. So number 19, let's see what it says. So again, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to follow any particular religion for this to resonate. It's more representative of certain values and things that are going on in your life. So take it, or if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. Anna, grandmother of Jesus, also known as Saint Anne or Saint Anna, was the mother of Mother Mary. Although she is not mentioned in the Bible, she has been worshipped and revered since the early days of Christianity. See, women getting left out of the history again, right? As she continues to be honoured by the Catholic Church to this day, Anna, grandmother of Jesus, has become a wise motherly beacon of light for those on the New Age or spiritual path in recent years, offering ancestral and family healing and love. And I feel like that could be something that you're in need of, this ancestral healing. You know, this kind of blinkered or it's us clouded memories of the past is the way it's coming through. And I feel like it's people around you, right? It's people that you're dealing with who are kind of like stuck in the old systems. Offering ancestral and family healing and love, light and support to those who are navigating their own family relationships in various ways. As an older mother, she is often called upon by those who are struggling to conceive, those choosing to live child-free, or those who are questioning and pondering their own aging. The Oracle, your ancestors stand beside you and support and love you, and they want to see you healed, whole and happy. Acknowledge and love those who have gone before, but forge your own path ahead. Acknowledge those who've come before, but forge your own path ahead. Exactly. I love it. It's like you don't have to throw the entire history, the entire book out the window, right? You can look for the parts that give you and your life value and just discard or shelve the parts that don't. You can pick and choose. That's your right as a human being on earth, right? You don't have to, if you can see that something is no longer fit for purpose, because you know, these texts were brilliant for the time they were written, right? They were fit for purpose in the time that they were written, but they're not necessarily concurrent with our certain situations. Some values hold true, some values don't, because situations have changed. So I think it's important to acknowledge that. You know, it's like if you want to live in the past, invent a time machine, you know, that kind of thing. It's like we're not in the past, things change. And a lot of the time people do, this came up a lot, I remember in the last set of readings, I was talking about nostalgia, especially Americana nostalgia, and that kind of like remembering better days that probably weren't actually better. It's like people just remember the good bits, right? People remember the Hallmark postcard moments, and not necessarily the fighting, the screaming, the repression, the racism. You know, like people definitely have a rose tinted view of the past because they're no longer experiencing it, right? They're picking the best bits. So a lot of these themes and topics are coming up for you. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just telling you that this might be what you're thinking about. I don't know. Um, Call on Anne Mother, Grandmother of Jesus, for assistance with family relationships, ancestral karma and healing, birth, adoption, or fostering, living child free, finding your place in the here and now, honouring those who have gone before you, building something wonderful for those who come next. I love that. Capricorn used to get that a lot. Honouring those who have gone before you, but building something wonderful for those who come next. And remembering that you're a fulcrum of change, right? You have that. It's funny, I was picking up on this here. You could have an air sign child or an air sign student, somebody who's learning from you. It doesn't have to be an air sign. They're learning something intellectually. Yeah, it's you remember that you are the leader in your own life. You are the elk, right? You are the father figure. You are the emperor, no matter what your gender is, right? You're embodying this energy, and you know, you get to choose. You do get to pick and choose in this moment of what you pass down, what is useful, what is helpful, what helps nurture and grow and make society better, and what's a little bit toxic, and what is maybe better left in the past. You know, you are in this moment of choice. You do get to shape the future in this way, in this moment, which is very powerful. Okay. Embody the energy of Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, so that this is how you can embody this yourself. Trusting your life, love and light will reach far and wide, taking higher ground and being the bigger person, showing love and compassion for others, having strong loving boundaries, knowing where to love close, whether to love close or from a distance, so giving people the room to grow and make their own mistakes, right? Remembering you are a link in the chain of light and love, impacting the world through your creations. I'm just going to actually show you that, just so you can kind of like maybe screenshot it and maybe keep referencing back to it as the guidance for the month of May, and hopefully that'll help you. As always, trust the voice within, trust your own instincts and your own knowledge of your situation. I am just giving you food for thought. I'm not telling you what to do, and I hope this reading was really helpful to you. Love and light. Do take care of yourselves, and I will see you again soon. I'm noticing it's 555 on the timestamp, so 5's the symbolic of change. Do take care. I'll see you again soon. Bye, friends.